Good evening, and you're very welcome back to Around the Grounds here at Finalwhistle.ie on this Good Friday. Which team across the league could have the goodest of Good Fridays as they were looking to keep their fortunes alive for both promotion places and, of course, title chasing contingent teams as well as that? One of those teams, of course, are between Dundalk and Sligo Rovers. They have entertained us earlier on this season. Both teams looking toward to get the top of the European places, even challenge for the title. Early days yet across the league. But of course, at Oriel Park, Dundalk met Sligo Rovers this evening, and watching for us was Kieran Callan.
Well, Dundalk have moved into third position, I think, with the way that the results have gone this evening, with a 2-1 win against Sligo Rovers. Dundalk looked in complete control and were ruthless when they needed to be at certain periods of this game, but did have to sweat a little near the end as Max Mata got a late goal for the visitors on the 88th minute. But let's just take us back to the first half. This game was, by all accounts, a real ding-dong affair. It was very much end-to-end. Real exciting, very paced. But what was the most interesting aspect of this is that you can see that these sides, you can see that their positions in the league are reflecting on how good they're playing at the moment. And at this moment in time, Dundalk and Sligo are very much on par, but Dundalk just had that little bit of a killer edge. Sligo, in turn, did have their chances. Aidan Kenna with a free kick very early on. He could have set off the perfect start for them from a free kick that took a wicked deflection that was deflected wide. Dundalk then had some very good link-up play, but it was just a case that Dundalk started to move into the ascendancy. And during the course of the half, they just grew and grew more into this game. And then all of a sudden, a fantastic cross to Stephen Bradley down the right. He looked really, really good this evening. One of the things about it that seems to be what a lot of teams are doing at the moment is that they're putting two players on Bradley because they realise the threat that he is. He was given that little bit of a freedom more this evening. And with that, he sent in a great cross. Now, Ed McGinty, it looked like he was going to get a hand to it. He kind of flapped at it a little bit, and Patrick Holm was just there at the back post just to nod it past him. The second goal, well, the first goal was very, very good. The second goal was absolutely even better. Once again, Stephen Bradley, instrumental in the build-up. He passed it into Hoban with a fantastic deft cross, which fed into Daniel Kelly, and he just slotted under McGinty to give the second, and the 2-goal lead just before half-time. In terms of the second half, it was very, very much game management for Dundalk for a long period. They held on to the ball. They kept possession. They just kind of, they weren't really kind of prying or testing. And then all of a sudden, Sligo Rovers through David Cawley got an opportunity. That seemed to wake Dundalk up a little bit, and then they had a flurry of opportunities. But the next goal did come from Max Mata, a cross that went deep into the area, one of those kind of crosses and kind of long balls that you would expect at this kind of game, particularly for Sligo as the time was edging on. There was a bit of a fumble and a bundle in the box, and Max Mata just tapped it home. But a very well-deserving, a good Friday for Dundalk. And may I say, from a personal point of view, that was well worth the 5,215 kilometres that I travelled today to be here for this match.
Thanks, Kieran, for that report from Oriel Park. The dedication showing, coming all the way from Canada just to watch Dundalk for ourselves.
Had to be done.
The dedication showing. He'll be back on the podcast this week. We missed him this week, of course, but we will be back to having Kieran with us again for the League of Ireland podcast. Now, another team looking to try and get back into the playoff positions were Wexford FC. They took on Cove Ramblers at Carrick Park this evening. Of course, Cove not having the best run of results recently to themselves. Wexford looking to try and get the 3 points this evening. And watching for us was Sean Crosby.
Yes, well, tonight at Carrick Park, it was certainly the Jack Doherty show. Doherty absolutely instrumental in Wexford's 4-2 win here, getting a goal and an assist for himself. And that goal coming straight away, a perfect start for the host. Just 2 minutes in, Cove giving the ball away, and Doherty found himself in the edge in the area. Turn and a left-foot shot to slot it past Sean Barron to give them the lead. However, that lead would only last 10 seconds as Cove would go right back up the other end. And Issa Cargo cross was poorly cleared, and Luke Desmond found himself free on the edge of the area to slot the ball past Alex Moody. After that, though, Wexford continued to play quite well. They dominated the ball, really, and created a few half chances here and there. Finally, it came good in the half-hour mark. Again, Doherty at the centre of it all. A nice 1-2 between himself and Aaron Dobbs found him in a one-on-one with Sean Barron. But he decided to give the ball off this time, squaring it to Conor Barry, who got probably the easiest finish of his career. Wexford went in 2-1 up at the break and immediately started the second half the way they started the first. corner from Conor Crowley was deflected, and Aidan Friel found himself at the back post to bundle the ball over the line just, I'd say, 30 seconds into the second half. Cove would reply, though, again. This time it took 10 minutes instead of 10 seconds. A nice, quick kind of attack with Conor Drynan finding himself on the end of it. A good touch to set himself free inside the box, and then he just passed the ball into the back of the net. Really a very cultured finish from him. 5 minutes after that, though, Wexford again would retaliate, and once again it's Jack Doherty. Conor Crowley playing the ball down to him, down the wing, and Doherty, a great burst of pace to get free of the defenders, drills the ball across, and Aaron Dobbs is there he pretty much had to run into the ball. It comes off his head, off the bar, and in to make it 4-2. Obviously, Doherty will get all the praise tonight for his performance, as he should, and it's a good result for Wexford. But I think the most impressive thing was the 30 minutes after Dobbs' goal, Wexford didn't concede, which I think tonight's game showed in parts that Wexford have typically failed to hold on to leads. There's a few scary moments here and there. John Manley had to clear the ball off the line from a corner after a goal-mouth scramble. Alex Moody was called into action. A great save tonight. Jake Hegarty, 5 minutes from time, and Hegarty would go close again in injury time. His header skimming the crossbar after another cross from Issa Cargbo, who did cause Guffey problems down the right-hand side. But Wexford held on. I think really that's what Ian Ryan will be most impressed with, that after getting that 2-goal cushion again, they managed to see it out and not concede anymore. And it's a great 3 points for them with their campaign to push for a playoff place. So it finishes here, Ferry Carrick, Wexford FC 4, Cove Ramblers 2.
Perfect, Sean. Thank you for that report from Ferry Carrick Park. Now, another team in the first division who have not had the best start to the season are definitely Athlone. Of course, Martin Russell seeing his resignation in the last couple of days. He is obviously no longer the manager of Athlone. A new manager at the helm tonight against Treaty United. Treaty United, of course, in the playoff position. They're looking to finish higher up in the table. Athlone are still chasing their first win of the season. And watching for us at the Athlone Town Stadium was Sean Comer.
Yeah, Diarmuid full-time in Athlone, and it's 1-1. Athlone pick up their second point of the season. The Dermot Lennon era as caretaker manager is off to a solid start. 8 minutes in, though, Treaty looked like they had a good chance. Stephen Christopher with some good play down the left pulled it back to Dean George in the box. He got a shot off, and his effort was just wide of the post. About 3 minutes later, Athlone had a penalty shout. Derek Daly sent a throw in straight to Carlton Ubazunu. He ran towards the Treaty goal, and he was kind of being nudged all the way en route to goal. He finally went down in the box, but the referee wasn't having any of it. Then 10 minutes later, in the 21st minute, Treaty had a penalty shout of their own. Joel Coltrane went down under duress from Derek Daly, I think. But it looked like a bit more of an obvious call than Carlton Ubazunu. There was definitely more of a claim to this one, but again, the referee waved it away. He wasn't having any of it. Around the half-hour mark, former Athlone man Enda Curran got a bit involved. In the 29th minute, he rose high to meet a cross, but his header dipped just over the bar. He did well to meet the ball in the first place and was unlucky not to get a reward for that. The 32nd minute, he skipped by an Athlone defender and tried an effort from a long way out, but Michal Schlingerman was down to it. In the 36th minute, there was a very good chance for Athlone. Armstrong played through Alua, who worked it onto his right foot in the box. He sent it across to Ubazunu, got an effort off, but that was saved at point-blank range by Jack Brady. Somehow the ball not going in. In the second half, it took until just before the hour mark, really, for anything entertaining to happen. Curran had another good effort when he met a low-drilled cross from the right, but his effort was straight at Schlingerman. Just a minute later, Glenn McCauley, playing out on the right for the first time I remember anyways in his Athlone career, worked well, and he sent it across to the box. Thomas Alua met it, but he blazed it over. Really should have done better. In the 73rd minute, Stephen Christopher, who of course eventually would be the hero, had a good effort. He got the ball out on his left and cut onto his right, sent an effort at goal. Deflected just wide, just inches wide. And then the hectic final 10 minutes came. Derek Daly sent a low drill cross in the 84th minute, and super sub Success Edagun, what I think was probably his first touch of the game, maybe his only touch, met the ball at the back stick and tapped it in, and the place went crazy. It looked like Athlone were going to get that first win of the season, finally break that duct. Treaty looked like they equalised 3 minutes later when Ludden met a cross at the back post and it hit the bar. The rebound was met by Devitt, and with an open goal absolutely gaping at him, he sent it just wide. But Treaty would get that reward in the 90th minute when a cross came in. It was not dealt with well by the Athlone defence. Stephen Christopher, to be fair to him, met the failed clearance well, smashed it into the net, and it was 1-1. There was only 2 minutes of injury time after that, and of course the final score was 1-1, and I think, given the basis of the game, it was probably a fair result.
Perfect, Sean. Thank you for that report from Athlone Town. Sean, of course, still waiting to see Athlone win, but fortunately couldn't get it done tonight against Treaty United. Now, another two teams who are this time in the Premier Division who could face the First Division next year are the form of UCD and Drogheda. UCD rock bottom in the table. Drogheda just ahead of Finn Harps in the playoff in the relegation zone as well. They are in 8th position. Both teams definitely in need of a much needed 3 points on this Good Friday. Watching for us was Conchie.
Hi, Diarmuid. Yeah, it finished UCD 0, Drogheda United 2 here in South Dublin. It wasn't the prettiest of performances from the Drogs, but they got the job done. Chris Lyons' penalty kick on the hour mark proving to be the difference. This one began with a very dull first half. Both sides really struggling to create anything of note and really not able to put any pace into anything they did in the respective final thirds. Representative of this was the fact that the first shot on target of the game came 35 minutes in through Lyons himself, who shot low in the box, but Lorcan Healy saved comfortably in the goal of the students. Despite this, up to this point, UCD, you could probably argue, were actually slightly the better side, and they did actually have Drogheda looking quite vulnerable at the back whenever they decided to string a few passes together or hold on to possession that bit longer. But really, they still lived off half chances. Dylan Duffy, then the left-hand side, was probably their brightest spark, and got a good bit of joy creating a few half chances. One in particular that came 26 minutes in, deflected just wide of the goal after a shot from range. The second half was a completely different story, and Kevin Doherty must have said something right to his Claret and Blue men, because they came out all guns blazing straight away. The period from the start of the second half to 10 minutes later saw a flurry of 3 chances for the visitors. One coming from a speculative long-range volley from Chris Lyons on the turn. Another one, a magnificent effort from a free kick from Dale Rooney, which hit the very corner where the crossbar connects with the post. He was very unlucky with that one. Then a local Drogheda man, Ryan Brennan, came very close as a long ball broke down to him, and he slotted an effort just wide of Lorcan Healy. But this flurry of chances was rounded off by the opening goal. This penalty from Chris Lyons, of course, stemmed from a controversial call as the referee judged that Sean Brennan handled the bouncing ball on the very edge of the UCD box as they looked to counter-attack from a Drogheda corner. The UCD players were very loud in their protests with this, and Sam Todd was even booked in the process, but Lyons nonetheless slotted the penalty calmly, putting it down the middle past Healy. From here, naturally, Drogheda started to sit back a bit more as the leading side, and UCD did push, but it never really felt like they would get the equaliser. They did have another chance through that man Duffy again, 85 minutes in, as he dragged the ball wider and wider of the area, and a left-footed shot that kind of grazed the turf, but Sam Long was equal to it in the away goal. Then 89 minutes in, Evan Weir did wrap up the points. The ball was kind of scrambled in from a Dale Rooney cross, who, to be fair, was probably Drogheda's best player. And as it kind of took a series of deflections, Evan Weir latched onto it in the box with a volley into the side net, and that wrapped up, of course, a massive 3 points for Kevin Doherty's side in the context of that little battle going on between those few sides at the bottom of the division. So it finishes in the UCD Bowl, UCD 0, Drogheda United 2.
Perfect, Con. Thank you for that report. Watching all of the action for us at the UCD Bowl this evening. Now, a team that are definitely looking the early favourites for the title are Derry City. They have definitely shown their capability so far this season, and of course they were in action again this evening, taking on Shelbourne at the Ryan McBride Brandywell Stadium. And watching all of the action for us was Denise O'Flaherty.
Yeah, and Derry City 1, Shelbourne 2, and second half goals from Shane Farrell and Brian McManus saw Shelbourne inflict a first defeat of the season on leaders Derry City, and the only disappointment for the visitors was Ade Irvin's second yellow card in stoppage time. This was a game very much of two halves. Derry dominated the first half, while Shells were a different proposition in the second. Despite having so much possession in the opening half an hour, Derry didn't really test Brendan Clark. Brandon Kavanagh hit a shot from distance in the 3rd minute, but it was straight at the Shells netminder. Shells did well to soak up the pressure, but rarely got into the Derry half. James Akintunde caused the visitors problems, and 2 of their players received yellow cards for fouls on the lively forward. City were patient in their play, and the deadlock was eventually broken in the 31st minute. Will Patching played a lovely ball into Akintunde. He did well to hold off his marker to turn and shoot low into the net. Shelburne, though, were furious because they felt Akintunde handled the ball in the lead up to the goal. Cameron McJanet and Jamie McGonigal both had efforts before the break, but they didn't really trouble Clark. Whatever Shell's manager Damien Duff said to his side at half-time worked. In the 51st minute, Daniel Carr's low drive was just inches wide. And then in the 67th minute, Cameron Ledwidge dispossessed of Kavanagh. He played the ball into Shane Farrell and he found the bottom corner of the net. Minutes later, McJanet thought he had put his side ahead again, but his header was ruled out for offside. In the 73rd minute, Shells took the lead through substitute McManus when he hit an excellent strike from distance. Clark denied McGonigal and Luke Byrne put in a well-timed tackle on Patching as the home side pressed for an equaliser. Try as they might, they couldn't muster up a second goal as Shells held on for a famous win. It ended at the Ryan McBride Brandywell Stadium. Derry City 1, Shelburne 2.
Perfect, Denise. Thank you for that report. Now, that result definitely one that will suit the likes of Shamrock Rovers, who were also in action in the late 8 o'clock kickoff this evening, where they took on St. Patrick's Athletic. Having dropped points this evening, Derry definitely wouldn't want to see Shamrock Rovers picking up 3 points to keep them in the title race. Watching at Tallaght Stadium for us was Matthew O'Donnell. Don't think Matthew is actually there from what I can see anyway. But what we will do instead is we will actually go instead to the first division clash between Cork City and Bray Wanderers at Turner's Cross. Cork City, of course, another team who are definitely looking early title contenders, especially in that one, to get back up into the Premier Division, while Bray Wanderers haven't had the best of luck so far this season, especially in their opening day 6-0 hammering to Cork City. Watching all of the action for us was Jack Joy.
Yeah, Diarmuid, Cork City 0, Bray 0 here at Turner's Cross, despite some late penalty drama. But you really have to say all credit to Bray, considering their first fixture of the season was against Cork and they lost that 6-0 at home at the Carlisle grounds. But a very different performance from them tonight, and they really closed down Cork, didn't allow them very much space at all, and they had very few chances. Bray weren't great going forward themselves, but they really limited Cork, who have the best goal difference in the division. Probably Cork's best chance came from Rory Keating on 25 minutes, but that was well dealt with by Stephen McGuinness, the Bray goalkeeper, and there really wasn't anything else that even resembled a clear chance for the rest of the first half. It was a really dull, you'd have to say boring first half. There was a big crowd at Turner's Cross, but they were very subdued after the first half because Bray really took the life out of Cork, and they looked like they were really struggling to create anything. They resorted to long balls, which didn't work. True balls as well were very well dealt with by the Bray defence. Kevin Knight back there at centre back was very good on the night. Second half, Cork came out with a lot more pace. You'd have to say they looked a lot more positive going forward. Rory Keating again had a chance on 45 minutes, but probably could have gone earlier, and he was closed down by Stephen McGuinness again. Hacking in the centre back had a good headed chance later on, shortly after, but that was deflected again. And Bray are working hard all the time to close down Cork, and even last minute stuff on the line to keep the score 0-0. Kind of descended into a dull game towards the middle of the second half, just like the first half, and I suppose both sides exchanged possession, but no real clear chances. But Cork had a lot of chances as the half went on. The last 10 minutes particularly, Rory Keating played a great ball across goal into the Bray box, and Barry Coffey, I don't know how he missed it. He put it straight over the bar, over an open goal. I think Barry Coffey and striker Keane Murphy collided, and it was just a disaster. But they really ruled that chance. Barry Coffey really should have scored there. I suppose Bray had a chance through Rob Manley just before that, a headed chance, but they really didn't have anything after that then. And 2 minutes injury time, and you thought the game was all done, but there was 2 late penalty calls from Cork. in the box. There was a foul, or what looked to be a foul, on Keane Murphy, and there was shouts from the Cork crowd really expecting a penalty, but the ref waved play on. Then seconds after, Addy Gilchrist, the Cork centre back, looked to be fouled, and the referee blew his whistle. There was a big cheer from the Cork crowd. Thought it was a penalty, but the referee ordered a free out for a clash of heads reportedly. But there was a bit of a few handbags after that, and I suppose whatever time Cork had left was kind of done away with then. And as soon as play resumed, the referee blew full time. So it was Cork City 0, Bray Wanderers 0 at Turner's Cross.
Perfect, Jack. Thank you for that report from all of the action at Turner's Cross. Now we will try and cross back to Matthew O'Donnell, who of course was at Tallaght Stadium for us this evening to watch Shamrock Rovers taking on St. Patrick's Athletic.
Yeah, Shamrock Rovers won St. Patrick's Athletic 0 here at the end of full time here at Tallaght Stadium. The first half was a game already a few chances. Rovers dominate possession, failed to create anything clear cut. Pats, who looked to hit Rovers on the counter attack, grew into the game throughout the first half. Darragh Burns had a half chance that deflected off Roberto Lopez out for a corner. Well, minutes later, Owen Doyle switched the ball out to Billy King, who cut inside. His shot was palmed away by Alan Manus, but Owen Doyle couldn't get on the end of that. The second half started the same as how the first half began as well, with a few chances for either sides. Then the game turned on its head 5 minutes into the second half when Danny Mangio picked out Rory Gaffney at the back post for the striker to tap in his second goal of the season. The rest of the second half saw a few chances in between. St. Pat's failed to create anything clear cut, while Rovers pressed on for that second goal, but again couldn't find anything. A few bookings for St. Pat's players. Chris Forrester went into the book, James Abanka went into the book alongside Joe Redmond as well. But for Rovers now, it's another big game Monday when they host Dundalk. While for Pats, it's a massive Dublin derby next when they go to UCD on Monday night.
Perfect, Matthew. Thank you for that report from all of the action from Shamrock Rovers and St. Patrick's Athletic at Tallaght Stadium this evening. Now, looking at Shamrock Rovers' rivals in Bohemians, they were in action against 9th placed Finn Harps this evening. A result for Bohs could definitely see them up toward the top 5 in the table, while Harps are looking to try and claw themselves out of the relegation zone. Watching the action for us was Masape Omeni.
What a game. A nightmare for journalists everywhere. My match report was ready to go. I was so happy. I was like, yep, everything is done. Everything was done. And then just last minute stoppage time equalizer. Bohemian 2, Finn Harps 2. What can I say about this game? At the start, it was a bit testy. There wasn't really much that was going on in the first 5-10 minutes. And then referee Sean Grant, essentially, in my opinion, he killed the game before it could become a contest, because he sent off Harps forward Eric McWoods 7 minutes in for an off-the-ball incident, which really it wasn't anything that could have been deemed serious or sinister. But I think he was tricked by Tyreek Wilson, and unfortunately, that kind of proved in the way that the visitors had to play. So Keane to assert his own authority in the game. The referee kind of made it a stop-start affair. There was tic-tac fouls here and there. And then just out of the blue, the visitors, they scored first. They had a penalty. Rory Feely fouled Filip Mahilovic inside the area, and he made no mistake from the penalty spot. And then it was kind of a defense first, attack if we can kind of tactic from the visitors. They defended very well for sustained periods, but they were kind of helped out by some poor finishing, if I'm being honest, because as far as they're concerned, they had to just defend in numbers and hope for the best. And to be honest, they did that. But the pressure told at the start of the second half. There was 2 goals in 6 minutes because Dawson Devoy made no mistake from the penalty spot, and he ran and grabbed the ball. He said, "This isn't good enough. It's 1-1." And then Alistair Coote scored a thunderbolt from a corner, and everyone in the ground, they were thinking, yeah, they're going to go and score 5-6 here. They missed chance after chance, and then Mark McGinley made a great save 15 minutes to go, unsighted from close range. We saw it really late, but he made a great save with his outstretched right leg to stop Promise Omacheri, and it hit the post. And then there was loads of substitutions, loads more stoppages. Like I said, everything pointed towards a hard-fought 2-1 win, and in the last minute, 3 substitutes combined, and in the end, it was Mark Timlin, that split the Bows back line and toe poked it home. 2-2 final score.
Perfect, Mo. Thank you for that report. Not the result that either team would want this evening, especially for Finn Harps, as they remain down in the relegation zone. Now, the final report of tonight's action comes from the RSC, where Waterford took on Galway United. Second place Galway going down to Waterford. Of course, I was watching this game, and the game decided after 12 minutes, thanks to Manu Dimas finding the back of the net. He got on the end of an Alex Murphy cross from the left-hand side. It was a lovely whipped cross in by the Galway man, and he managed to find Dimas, who poked in from close range. Now, to credit Waterford, they did look lively and looked to come back into the game. They did force Galway keeper Conor Currans into a string of saves, the best coming from a Shane Griffin free kick, where the keeper initially did well to save the free kick, stinging his palms. But of course, he definitely earned his money to get up quick and save the resulting rebound to keep it at 1-0. Galway definitely could have made it 2-0 after 37 minutes. Stephen Walsh, he is becoming a danger man for them as of late. He was in the area for a Killian Bruder cross, but he just couldn't find the mark, unfortunately. Richard Taylor had another effort just before the break. He hit a shot from range that just flew past the post. It definitely would have been a phenomenal strike, would it have buried into the back of the net, but definitely it remained 1-0 at the break in that one. Into the second half, it still looked like Waterford could get that equaliser. Keane Kavanagh kept coming closest. He was found by Griffin at the edge of the area, but his goal-bound effort just went narrowly wide of the post. But the best chance in the half fell after the 80-minute mark. Just goes to show you how tight the game was as a contest in general. Phoenix Patterson had a corner on the right. His corner was crossed in. It was headed off the bar originally by Kavanagh, and then just seconds later, Killian Cantwell, who's just back from a spell out on the sidelines, also hit the crossbar straight away. Definitely a wild scene in that one. It definitely could have been 1-0 in 1-1, in that one. But Galway's best chance really of the second half came after 81 minutes as Gary Boylan hit the first major chance for them. But it was a relatively easy save for Brian Murphy to get down and save it. But the biggest worry definitely for Waterford, despite losing the contest at home, is the fact that Junior was forced off after just 18 minutes, while Galway will be assessing Mikey Rowe's condition after he was also forced off just after the hour mark as well with an injury in that one. But a big win for Galway as it sees them up. It sees them onto 20 points. They are now level, of course, with Galway in the table or level with Cork as a result of that game, which Jack brought to you earlier. Now we'll just give a run through the results, of course, from all of tonight's action in both the Premier and the First Division. You, of course, will see it at the bottom of your screen as well. Big win for Drogheda as they got a big 2-0 win over UCD. That, of course, put some breathing room between them and the bottom half of the relegation zone, should I say. Dundalk, of course, managing to get a 2-1 win over Sligo in that one. Derry City remarkably losing a game to Shelburne. Shelburne have been really good away from home, but not the result that Derry will be looking for as they're trying to get a title back to the Brandywell this season. As Mo had said, Bohemians and Finn Harps drawing 2-2. Finn Harps managing to snatch one right at the death to take a point. Not enough to get them out of the relegation zone, sadly, but definitely a result to build on going forward. Shamrock Rovers picking up a 1-0 win in St. Pat's. That puts them definitely back in the title chase in that one. Of course, as I mentioned, Galway United picking up the 1-0 win over Waterford. A great result for them now that Cork have lost out on points, while Wexford getting a 4-2 win over Cove. Cove not having the best of starts to the season in that one anyway. A result for Wexford. They've been the surprise package, as we keep saying, and especially on the podcast. They have looked strong in that one. Cork City and Bray finishing scoreless at Turner's Cross, while Athlone looked to have gotten their first win of the season. Dermot Lennon, of course, looking to get his managerial reign off to a winning start, but unfortunately they were snatched at the death by Treaty United. Now we'll look at the league tables, of course, to see what has been the action where teams have sat following tonight. And you will see Derry, of course, they remain top of the table on 23 points, but Shamrock Rovers are into second place. They have definitely got back in amongst the form in that one. While Dundalk are up into third place, they slip ahead of St. Patrick's Athletic, while Drogheda are up into seventh position. Unfortunately for Shells, despite the result, they of course are down into eighth position. They're ahead of Finn Harps, but unfortunately not where they want to be, definitely in the table so far. While Sligo Rovers are also slipping down the table into fifth position in that one. And we will take a look at the first division table as well. As I mentioned, Cork City and Galway now tied 20 points apiece. Of course, Galway getting a draw last weekend looked to have been a great result for Cork, but now of course Cork coming short against Wexford, against Bray, this evening, as they are both tied in the table. Longford, of course, have 2 games in hand over the top 2 teams. There will be an action again on Monday evening, while Waterford and Treaty, of course, remain the teams in the playoff positions. Wexford narrowly missing out in that one, in that regards. We will take a look at some of the statistics as well, coming first from the Premier Division, where we will take a look at the goals. Will Patching and Aidan Keena, the 2 men tied at the top of the goal scoring charts there, while Jamie McGonigal, Patrick Hubin, Graham Burke are all on 4 apiece, while Andy Lyons, Promise Omachere, Stephen Bradley, Dean Williams, and Max Mata, who was amongst the goals tonight, also joins Chris Lyons as well on 3 apiece. And we'll take a look at the clean sheet records as well for the goalkeepers in that division. And it's Joseph Anang and Nathan Shepherd who are tied on 5 apiece. Brian Maher on 4, while Alan Manis is on 3. Gets another clean sheet tonight for his record. And we'll look at the statistics as well, coming from the first division, where Phoenix Patterson, of course, remains there. It's definitely tight at the top here in terms of the goals, where Phoenix Patterson, Benon O'Brien, Whitmarsh, Barry Coffey, Junior Quintera, Rory Keating, Stephen Walsh, and Enda Curran are all on 4 goals apiece, while Aaron Dobbs, Darren Craven, Cian Murphy, Lewis Britton, and Dylan McGlade are all on 3 goals apiece. And that one's definitely a tight one in terms of the goal scoring. But when we look at the goalkeepers, it's definitely one man who stands amongst the rest, and that is David Harrington. He picks up his 7th clean sheet of the season this evening, while Stephen McGuinness has 4 to his name, trying to chase him down, while Connor Kearns, Jack Brady, Luke Dennison, and Brian Murphy. Luke Dennison, Brian Murphy, of course, is on 2, but the rest are on 3. Connor Kearns, of course, picking up another clean sheet tonight for Galway in that game over Waterford. Now that brings into the league tables, but we will be back to you again tomorrow evening. We have fixtures coming from the Women's National League. We will have a show again tomorrow evening. We'll be starting off, of course, in those fixtures. You'll see them at the bottom of your screen. Sligo entertain Treaty at 2 o'clock. Bohemians and DLR Waves, along with Galway and Shelburne and Wexford Youths and Cork City, all kick off at 6 o'clock, while the late game sees Athlone Town taking on Peamount United at 7 o'clock. And of course, Bank Holiday Monday sees us back to you again for another round of fixtures in the Premier Division and the First Division. It's all 7:45 unless stated otherwise. Shelburne and Bohemians, the early kickoff at 3. UCD and St. Patrick's Athletic kicking off at 5 o'clock in that one. Finn Harps and Sligo Rovers an hour later at 6, while Shamrock Rovers and Dundalk, another entertaining tie at Tallaght Stadium in that one. They kick off at 7 o'clock, while Drogheda United then take on Derry, of course, at 7:45. And in the First Division, Waterford and Cork take on each other at 2 o'clock, while Bray Wanderers and Longford Town are at 3:30. Treaty United take on Wexford, and Cove entertain Athlone. Of course, those games also kicking off at 7:45. Now, that concludes our bumper action here on Good Friday. All the reports from the games will be available on the Finalwhistle.ie website, of course. We will have full action as well, of course, as I said, from the Women's National League tomorrow, and we will be back to you tomorrow and of course on Monday for more action and more around the grounds reports coming to you from across the country. So glad that you've tuned into us on this Friday evening. We hope to see you again tomorrow and definitely Monday. The season is only kicking off and there's definitely a lot more action to see. But until we talk again, have a lovely evening and goodbye.